Do you love them as much as you loved us? Reflecting back over 64 years as a sister of St. Joseph, I am proud of having been asked that question. Do you love them as much as you loved us? St. Paul in Thessalonians writes, "We share with you not only the gospel of Jesus Christ, but our very hearts, so dear have you become." This is the reading I have chosen for my funeral. It voices what I believe has become my life in Christ as a sister of St. Joseph, the foundation of spirituality within my adventure. Within the early years of my religious life, I was privileged to facilitate the 19th annotation of St. Ignatius with parishioners. The realization that these women were already women of prayer left me overwhelmed. However, I realized early on that we do need Christ. We all witness insofar as we sit at the feet of Jesus. Daily prayer became an absolute in my life. One of the most amazing realizations to me is where this CSJ has journeyed. My religious life took me to the classroom, to diocesan ministry, religious education, parish outreach, adult spirituality, shelter care, hospice, and congregational service, meeting people and situations that only a loving God could have designed. Community life has become a home. Sisters, members of their families, folks in the pews, and the very universe itself have graced me with what I can only say has been grace upon grace upon grace. A question raised to me by a woman who I came to companion during the time she and her children were homeless is one I am proud to share. I had recently been called to companion persons near death. When I met my friend at a wake, she asked, "Do you love them as much as you loved us?" Love of God and neighbor without distinction is my call to religious life. Yes, I do love them as much as I loved you.
For 47 full years, and every summer for 5 years before I realized that I could go back again and stay for good. Found hope in the community of Kentucky in seeing the way the people handled their lives. They didn't have much. If you weren't a nurse or a doctor or a professional person, they had loads and loads of McDonald's and Wendy's and all those little stores, but they always did it with a smile. They had dreadful poverty. Lots of them were single because their husbands just left. Drugs were a dreadful problem in southeastern Kentucky, so they had to keep going on their own. And always they had children, and they took wonderful care of their children, poor as they were. But they would offer you anything they had, and usually it was in a mayonnaise jar. They'd offer you a cup of coffee. It was always with love. It was what they had to give you, so you always accepted it. We all did Bible school. We taught teen club. We all taught GED. I did emergency medical transportation, which meant anybody had to go to a doctor in town or a hospital. If the doctor decided a hospital, the doctor would call, and I would take them to the hospital and come back and tell the doctor what went on or what was going on. And that's when I got to be a nurse. He said you could do a little bit more. And I thought, gee, Bible school, teen club, GED, what else do you we were busy all day. And then he said, go be a nurse, and then you can be more assistance to the people. And I got a grant, and I went to nursing school, and I worked there. And then I worked in the health department, which was a pretty good thing to do. Then I moved and went to another mission. Father was always in charge of the missions. And I went to Hazard Appalachian Regional Hospital, and I worked there for 2 years. But we had a lot of people die, and I always went to the funerals. I went to every funeral of the people who died, because I worked on a palliative care floor, and you got to know them and their families, and you got to love them. And when they died, I went to every imaginable religion, sect that you can imagine. Very few Catholics in southeastern Kentucky, and that was a very hard part to get people to accept us. But once they did, we were in like Flynn. Gratitude was their greatest gift, and that gave it to me too. Well, when I first went to Kentucky, a lady was there from Illinois, but she was in our new small parish, and she said, "How can a girl from New York ever adjust to Kentucky?" Now that I'm back, I say, how can a girl from Kentucky ever adjust to New York? It's been very difficult. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, after leaving my parents to go to Kentucky and my family and my community. So I just have to live in hope, and hope is my promise, and my one thought is trust an unknown future to a known God, and that's all I can do.
I have been very blessed with good health. I am able to get involved in things, and opportunities to be of service just seem to come my way. I didn't go looking for them, but when I retired 12 years ago, there were opportunities for me to do things that were meaningful, that could help other people, and were still within what I was capable of doing. So I got involved. Somehow, by coincidence, or maybe not, but all of the things I do are very meaningful to me, and I do enjoy them. The RCIA that I do at St. John the Baptist, I was doing before I even retired, and of course that's obviously very meaningful to evangelization and to reaching out to people. When I retired, looking for something to do, I just naturally went to St. John's, where volunteers for the food pantry were always open. So I started doing that, and 5 years ago I became co-director. The food pantry has grown considerably. We've gone from 300 people a week to over 400 because of the immigrants that are housed at the hotel across from Madison Square Garden. So that is certainly a constant service, very meaningful, kind of sometimes a little stressful because we're just not able to do all that we'd like to do. It's a Band-Aid. Working at OLPH school, I went in to say hello to the principal, and she was very distraught because her kindergarten teacher had quit that morning after 3 days in September. Since I was kind of free 2 days a week, I offered to come in and mentor the computer teacher who never taught kindergarten. That was 2 years ago. 2 new teachers, and I'm still there 2 days a week, and I love doing it. It's a teacher's dream to go in without having the pressures of faculty meetings and professional development. I go in and teach, and it's totally enjoyable. I know each one of the things I do does enrich other people. I know it's a blessing for them, and they're grateful for it, but it's done an awful lot for me too. It's made me more aware of the needs of people, and my decision to reach out to help those in need, which comes from the congregation, which comes from what we've been trained to do from our earliest years. And it really does make me more aware of what God is asking of me, and looking at what I am able to do and how much I'm able to do. I feel so blessed, and I'm so grateful every day that I can get up and do these things and enjoy them, find peace in doing them. And I may not always want to start out from the house, but I'm never sorry that I did. I'm always I'm always feeling very grateful for what I have and for what I'm able to do and for what I'm able to do for others. I think it has made me a better person just in making me more aware of others and how I can be of service to them.
All right, one of the things that has impacted my life as a Sister of St. Joseph is having the privilege of spending 10 weeks of summer with Cesar Chavez in California. He taught me so much, how we feel for each other, how you share things with each other, and how hard you work for something that you really need and want. I went to California because I was very much impressed by a school meeting that we had, a school conference that we had years ago under the superintendent, Monsignor Thomas Gallagher. We had a sister who spoke about the plight of the farm worker out on the East. So I was very concerned about that. I was impressed with what she said, and I felt I had to do something. I also had a friend, a dear friend, Sister Pearl McGivney, who was very much interested in the Farm Workers Union, who had asked permission of the community to spend 3 weeks of her time in California. And when she went there, she ended up spending the rest of her life in the farm workers' plight. So we used to talk a lot about it, and I decided that I would like to go and see what it's like. So I did. And I have never regretted it because I learned so much. How people live, how hard they work, how faithful they are, and how they survive because of the great faith that they have in God. It taught me a lot. Yes, and Cesar Chavez, a lot of people thought he was a communist, but he was at the other end. He was the most faithful man that you would ever want to meet. Very prayerful. We attended Mass every day, any day that we had a priest on the premises, and he was always in the front line, deep in prayer. Nothing disturbed him. Always traveled when he had business things to do. Always traveled with his Bible in his suitcase. Never left without it. He trusted in God that the work that he was doing was worthwhile and it was going to help his people. Not himself, but his people. I think it taught me to be less, I think you don't know how much we think about ourselves until we see how other people live. So that changed my life, that you had to spread out, that anybody that you met had an impact on your life, no matter who they were, rich, poor, in between, doesn't matter. People are people. They're all God's children. We've all been made by the same Creator, and we're here for each other, not for ourselves.
One of my fondest memories growing up was being part of Academia Maria Reina. Once, I had the idea that a school like Maria Reina, where there was so much talent, as noted by the talent show's literary competition, shouldn't be without a literary magazine. So, yes, Sister Therese blessed the idea. A group of us set out to work, and Viajani was born. Can Can you picture Sister Teresa's trust in us for such an endeavor? It was truly amazing how this microcosmos provided the scenario where we, the then women of tomorrow, were developing under the guidance of the Sisters of St. Joseph. Sister Thérèse Marie, our founder and principal, was a legendary woman who inspired everyone she met. Her total dedication to the school was unquestionable, as well as her visionary administrative ways, which were part of Maria Reina's success. The trust and confidence she gave those around her brought the best results. Those of us who had the privilege of knowing her can confirm this. I also want to mention my dear homeroom teacher during the 4 years at Maria Reina, Sister Nora Hillary, an exceptional educator, totally dedicated to her students. Something wonderful was the opportunity to get to know Sister Judith Perchins and work with her during several years. Another extraordinary woman who embodied the mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph deeply. She reminded me of Sister Therese in several ways. Also a visionary, great administrator, with a good sense of obtaining the best for the school and or those involved. Everyone and everything pertaining Maria Reina was important to her. Like the time she called the municipal authorities and asked them to please fix the problem the school had with the heavy rains, since water flooded right from the street and it was very difficult for parents to pick up their girls. And the authorities did fix it. She got things done. It was a real privilege having her as a school principal and leader. I want to thank you for this opportunity. May the Lord bless you, keep you strong, healthy, and committed to your work for Academia Maria Reina. Thank you.
So why I wanted to become a sister? I think I grew up in Sri Lanka and we had Good Shepherd sisters in my parish, St. Mary's Parish. We did so many things with the sisters. We were part of a lot of activities, church activities. We were part of so many associations. Sisters took us to orphanage and the elders' papals where they stay, whoever wasn't taken care of. Always our time was balanced with joyful occasions and also service. So I think I was attracted to that, and I was always felt welcome, loved, and also we learned about God and spirituality by being with the sisters, and I liked that. And when I came to United States, I was busy working and going to school. And then after a while, I had that yearning, there is something missing. I realized that it's the community that I am missing. I was with my friends back home and doing all this work. Right now also, at that time I was working and serving, but I missed that community. That's when I asked about where I can work with the sisters or to get to know about the sisters. I found Sisters of St. Joseph, and they are in many ministries. They do a lot of work, and we don't have a particular ministry. You can choose whatever you like to do. So that's when I discerned with the sisters. I liked what they were doing with the prison ministry and teaching and pastoral care, and they were in many ministries, like I said, doing many activities with so many people. So that's when I decided to enter and become a sister, and I am here for 15 years. I know the sisters for 17 years, and I'm very happy, and that's my story.